Coming up on This Week in Radio Tech, us radio engineers, we tend to deal with left and right stereo sound. Television engineers are having to deal with a lot more, including immersive sound. And some of that's going to be kind of easy. Other parts of it, you got to really understand. Well, Larry Schindel, my colleague at Telos Alliance, he's the senior product manager for Linear Acoustic. And, they make television audio processors. And Larry has been through the whole ringer for years and years in television multi-channel audio and now object-oriented audio and Dolby Atmos. So Larry's going to be giving us a tutorial on how multi-channel audio for television is working now and in the future. It's coming up next on TWiRT.
This Week in Radio Tech is brought to you by Broadcasters General Store with outstanding service, savings, and support. Online at bgs.cc. By Broadcast Bionics with the Bionic Studio, including talk show control, social media, and visual radio. Broadcast Bionics brings exceptional audience engagement to radio and TV. By Air, featuring Playout One radio automation software, comprehensive streaming solutions, website content management, and social media tools for maximum listener engagement on the web at AIIR.com. By Angry Audio. Audio problems disappear when you get angry at angryaudio.com. And by Max Connect Wireless, prioritized high-speed internet service designed for transmitter sites and remote broadcasts.
Hey, welcome into This Week in Radio Tech, the show where we talk about everything from this light bulb to from this microphone to that light bulb at the top of the tower. Ooh, it's late. Hey, I'm if you're just joining us, which I guess you are, it's the top of the show. I'm Kirk Harnack, and I am in the Spanish office of Telos Alliance. I'm not at home in Nashville, even though the picture says I am. So, but it's 11 o'clock at night here, and I'm just glad to bring you the show live at this time. We have a guest. It's a normal time on a Thursday for our guest. It's early afternoon. But hey, we're here for Christmas, and we'll be doing the next few shows from Pontevedra, Spain, in the northwest corner of Spain. Lots of seafood here, lots of rain, and lots of umbrellas up and down the city streets every day. All right, enough about that. Let's talk to our guest. Our guest today is a colleague of mine, and we actually met in a pretty unusual way at a party when I accidentally almost knocked him over. And I'm so sorry about that, but he's decided to like me anyway. His name is Larry Schindel. He's the senior product manager for Linear Acoustic, and Larry has got an audio history that's just amazing, and he's got going to tell us about audio's future. Larry, welcome into the show. Good to see you.
Thanks, Kirk. Greetings from snowy Washington State.
Oh, my goodness. Snow?
Yeah, snow. We've had, I got about 6 inches today, and it's now turned to rain. So if I drop out due to weather-related issues, I will rejoin as quickly as possible.
Well, I can see snow out the window behind you, but also the window beside you. Maybe it's to your left, just above where the She Who Shall Not Be Named is in the muted mode. I'm seeing a good picture of snow out that window. Is that right?
Yeah, correct.
Oh, my gosh. Wow. Okay. So you're in Washington State. Obviously, you're not in a big city there, are you?
No, we're about 2 hours outside of Portland. So it's been hit with a fair amount of weather this week. So.
Oh, my gosh. All right. And you're connected via the Elon Musk eye in the sky, right? Skynet?
That's correct. Starlink. Yes, Skynet. I'm connected by Skynet.
Okay, well, good deal. Well, the reason I asked Larry to be on is that Larry has made a presentation to a group of Tennessee broadcast engineers, radio and TV, and they found his presentation fascinating, and so did I. We radio engineers, and most of our This Week in Radio Tech audience are radio engineers, but it's good to learn about what other disciplines and other jobs and other industries are doing with audio. Some radio engineers certainly are cross-functional with radio and TV, or maybe you're into film production or other or sports production. Some people do that. And what television audio is moving to in terms of sound is absolutely fascinating, and I love to see where this is going. And Larry is not only he's a hands-on guy; he's done this work and done it for years. and still does it on occasion. But he also is very technical, and he understands the technologies behind where we've been, maybe just with surround sound, and where we're going with immersive sound. And he explains it in a way that, hey, even I can understand it. Larry, I should have let you say all that. What I said there, is that pretty accurate?
Yeah, absolutely. And Kirk, like you mentioned, I have a lot of experience not only as an audio mixer, but doing systems work in live sound and television audio, a little bit of radio, pretty much anything except film production, actually. But
Mm-hmm.
previously to joining Telos Alliance, I spent 15 years at Dolby Laboratories working on ATSC1 and digital TV from the fundamentals, and working closely with colleagues in a cinema department where a lot of what I'm talking about starts out in cinema, and then
Mm-hmm.
it moves into the more consumer spaces like broadcast and at that time flat round shiny things that you would play, and today a lot of that's streaming and on demand type stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. So the way that our show is going to go, Larry has a presentation put together for us where he'll be explaining, for us, non-immersive sound people, just where we're going and how it works and what are the important things to look after. And he does it again in a way that a guy like me, who's used to just dealing with stereo, can understand and kind of see the intelligence of where this is and where it's going and how it's being implemented. So Larry has that coming up for us in just a minute. And also, with the time we have left over toward the end of the show, Larry's got some war stories to tell. And both in terms of live mixing, his involvement with plenty of live television productions, including some Olympic stories. If I can say the word Olympics, I'm not sure that they will come after me for that. And all that's coming up. So our show this week in Radio Tech is brought to you in part by our friends at AIR, AIIR.com. These are amazing people. They do great work. And I was just emailing with their tech support this morning, and just great tech support. Awesome people. We have 21 of their systems at our radio stations, but something you need to know about is streaming. And I talked to Ricky Lee about their streaming product, and here's how it went. Hey, it's Kirk Harnack, and I'm here with Ricky Lee, the CEO of AIR. Ricky, you guys make a fantastic automation system, but streaming is a really big deal. Tell me about streaming with AIR.
It really is. We've got a beautiful streaming platform with an incredible dashboard with fantastic analytics. And you can buy it for just $20 a month. All you can eat. No limits on bandwidth or bit rates. And you can also record shows as well. So if you like to deliver on-demand content for $20 a month, you can stream and deliver that on-demand content to an RSS feed that can feed your radio player, your mobile apps, or a podcast that people can download and enjoy.
Now, $20 a month, that must be for just some slow MP3, right?
No, MP3, AAC, and we also now support HLS, which is big in the industry right now.
Wow, that's pretty amazing. How do I start to explore or find out more about streaming through AIR?
You go to air.com, AIIR.com/streaming. And from there, with a credit card, you can sign up and get started.
Have you noticed how enthusiastic Ricky Lee is? The guy loves radio. I think he owns one or more radio stations in the U.S., despite that British accent. So Ricky knows the score, and they really listen. Great group, AIIR.com. Thanks for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. All right, Kirk Harnack here, coming to you from Europe, from Spain, and our guest is in Washington State. Many times. Oh, you are nine time zones away from me. So I'm glad we found a time that was good for both of us to do this. All right, Larry, kind of set us up for this presentation, and we're just going to let you go here, and we're going to learn what you know about next generation and multi-channel sound.
Sure, no problem. So my presentation is, I've called it Next Generation TV Audio, and well, this generation too. So before I really dive into this, what I want to talk about is there's a couple stages here. So there is the contribution level that would be from, say, a sporting venue back to your network center. And then there's the emission level stuff, which that goes from your station out to the end viewer. Today, I'm primarily going to be talking about the emission level stuff, but we'll touch on a little bit the contribution level codec. So to start with a brief history of TV audio, when TV first came out, it was mono. Then eventually became stereo. That turned into a matrix encoded stereo. Here in the US, it was popularly known as Dolby Surround or Dolby Pro Logic decoding of a Dolby Surround signal. And then digital TV came along, and there was so much bandwidth available, or so much data available in digital TV, both video and the audio, that we had to come up with a way to compress that data to make it transmit. With the audio, digital audio supports a wider bandwidth than analog TV audio did. It has greater dynamic range. Now, in theory, up to 120 dB instead of roughly 60, 65 dB for analog TV. And now it could support easily up to 5.1 channels. But again, the need to reduce the bit rate so that we could transmit everything became very apparent. So as an example, for an ATSC-1 digital broadcast, and ATSC, the terrestrial standard here in the US, the video and the audio and other data needs to fit into a transport stream that's roughly 19 megabits per second. And if you think about the audio at 24 bits at 48 kilohertz, that's roughly a megabit and a half per channel. So you could see how just audio alone, 5.1 channels, 6 channels of audio would eat up a lot of that 19 megabits, and that's without video. So what was invented both on the audio and the video side is what's called a perceptual codec or a lossy codec. And that's used to get the data rate down. And the way lossy codecs work is that they take advantage of human hearing for an audio codec and uses masking curves based on Fletcher-Munson curves. And they throw away information that in theory you won't be able to hear. And same thing happens with different techniques on the video side, but today we're going to be talking about audio. And one of the way lossy codecs works at a technical level is they take a number of audio samples and they make it a data frame. If you look in the bottom right corner of the screen, you'll see bursts of data in green and a space in between them, which is filled out with zeros. So that data burst there, that's actually an audio waveform from a Dolby Digital bit stream, where Dolby Digital is the audio codec that's specified in ATSC1 and on DVDs and is used in Blu-rays and some other formats. That's the old original AC3. Some of you may have heard that. But on an AES3 line, capturing it as a wave file, what you are seeing there is the actual audio samples. And in the case of Dolby Digital, it's made up of 1,536 audio samples, which at 48K sample rate, that's a 32 millisecond frame. So those data frames are 32 milliseconds apart on an AES3 line. So that's what digital TV started out as, the audio for digital TV. What has been called next generation audio, or NGA for short. And I like to say it's really now generation audio because it's been around for a while. It started actually take off a little bit right before the world shut down in 2020 from COVID, and everything went quiet for a few years there. But now it's picking back up. So it really is a now generation audio. This can support some additional features, including more than 5.1 channels, as Kirk mentioned, immersive audio, so 3D audio. One of the brands here that is going to be well known here in the US is called Dolby Atmos. This can support personalized audio and also enhanced dialogue to make it easier for either hearing impaired people to understand the dialogue over the rest of the program, or perhaps late at night night mode listening, where you really want to listen to the dialogue but not wake the rest of the members in your house. So uses like that. This is all being adopted by ATSC 3.0 here in the US, DVB over in Europe and other parts of the world, ISDB in Japan, cable, satellite, OTT streaming, TV 3.0, the new DTV standard that Brazil just adopted, signed into law 2 months ago, I believe. So NGA is found in all of these areas and supports those new features. On the TV side of things, there's 2 new emission codecs for NGA. Dolby Digital Plus with Atmos is kind of partial NGA, where that supports the immersive audio part. And then there's Dolby AC4 and there's MPEG-H are the 2 ones that completely support next gen audio.
Larry, you call these emission codecs. So this, from your first graphic, this is from the part that goes from the transmission location to the end user. These are not necessarily used in the content creation part of the chain, right?
Correct. And it's because these really compress down to a much lower data rate. So it's typically what gets transmitted out to the viewer is not intended to be encoded and decoded multiple times.
Yeah.
So they're really at those ratios with the amount of data that's thrown away. It's really intended for one encode and decode cycle, where to use an emission contribution level codec further upstream, you really want that to be more gentle, where you're not throwing away as much information, and you can encode and decode that multiple cycles without noticeably audible degradation.
And that makes sense, because just as in the radio business, in the TV business, hopefully you have more bandwidth in your infrastructure for getting video, from a remote location and then to a switching point, like if it's Formula One racing or whatever the thing may be, or it's an in-studio performance. And just like we distribute by streaming in the radio business, that's where your low bit rate thing is going to be. You keep the quality high until you have to get it more compressed for the delivery to the end user. Is it the same idea for NGA?
Exact same idea. And now that transmission bandwidths for backhauling information from, say, a sports venue to your broadcast center, the pipes are getting bigger. So many times, and especially in TV, right? Because audio is such a small part of the total bandwidth being occupied compared to video. In TV, everything's about the video and the picture. So they're trying to get the pipes bigger so that they can transmit a much better image, higher quality image with high dynamic range and 4K, more resolution, things like that. So that's where the emphasis on getting a pipe bigger is going. But audio tags along for that, and in many times you don't even need a codec on the audio. Your audio is being carried back as straight uncompressed linear PCM.
Well, this reminds me of some years ago. Weren't you at the Sochi Olympics?
Yes.
You were there. You were there on site. Okay.
I was there on site in Russia.
Yeah, I recall that somehow I got pulled into a conversation. Maybe it was ESPN. Somebody wanted an audio feed, and they had to emergency be delivered a couple of Telos One codecs, and I didn't know what they had there for bandwidth between the sites, and so I said, you got. Well, they said, well, what kind of bandwidth does this take? I said, well, you could easily run this at 32 kilobits if you have to, but probably 128, 256, blah, blah, blah. I said, you have enough pipe for this? They said, oh yeah, we got like 225 gigabits or something. It was just something crazy amount, or 225 megabits. But it was like, yeah, we're just going to take a video channel and use that for this. And there'll be 98%, bits not being used.
Yeah, and actually, what that was is that was NBC's post-production area, because I walked into work the next morning and there all of a sudden was the Zip One. I'm like, where did that come from? And basically, they were doing Pro Tools session with a voiceover artist in Stamford, Connecticut, at NBC Sports headquarters, and they were doing live voiceovers from Russia all the way to Connecticut and back.
Okay. Well, that makes sense. Well, I was delighted because somehow at the end of this thing, either you or Tim Carroll or somebody made sure I got a jacket out of the deal. So I got a social
that
jacket.
must have been Tim.
Yeah. All right. I'm sorry to interrupt. Go ahead and continue with your presentation.
Oh, no problem. So immersive audio is one of the features of NGA. And immersive audio is a generic term. But here you'll see this really started out in a cinema. And here's an image of a cinema with all the speakers. And in a movie theater, each one of those speakers is processed and amplified individually, which is awesome. But it's pretty impractical to put a system like this in your living room.
The wife will not allow. That got shot down by the wife right away.
Yeah, and my electric bill, I don't think, would be happy either supporting this. But in a cinema, they have real-time rendering engines where rendering is a fancy down mix or mix down. So it knows where every speaker is, how many speakers you have, and it knows how to mix that soundtrack down, to make it sound like where the creator, the director, wants the sound to come from in the room. Like I said, it'd be great to have this in your living room, but pretty impractical. Dolby Atmos is a brand name for that immersive audio experience. Like I said, it started out in cinema. We have to deliver it in a simpler method in TV and Blu-ray and OTT and streaming. I use the word TV pretty generically here today, but these are all different ways of getting that same experience. And you can add height channels in addition to what we call the base layer, so your ear level speakers. Dolby Atmos is defined as an immersive audio experience, not a specific technology. And you'll see that there's several different ways to deliver this, not only deliver it to the viewer, but for the viewer to play this back. And again, it's immersive audio experience ranging from up to potentially 128 speakers in a theater down to listening in binaural on earbuds off a mobile phone or tablet device. So Atmos is the name for their experience, but there's different ways to deliver that. One of the ways is Dolby Digital Plus Atmos or Dolby Digital Plus Jock. That uses what's called channel-based immersive audio. And then AC4, which is their newest codec, can deliver it as channel-based or object-based audio, or a combination of both. And I'll get into what object-based audio is shortly. Consumer devices to play back and to deliver an Atmos experience. As I mentioned, it can be a mobile phone, a tablet, video game consoles, a nice home theater system, streaming devices like Roku or Apple 4K TV, sound bars to deliver that, where it reflects sound off the ceiling and your walls to deliver an Atmos experience. Up-firing speakers that will bounce the height channels off the ceiling, that'll sit on top of your 5.1 cinema speakers, or even a new set that has the up-firing speakers built in. Even an immersive audio virtualizer built into some TVs. These are all different ways that the viewer can experience playback and decode of an Atmos soundtrack.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Some of the services, most of these are are available here in the U.S. But everything from cinema to Blu-ray are ways to deliver this. Speaking of cinema, if any of you have a Dolby Cinema near where you live, it is absolutely worth the experience to go to a Dolby Cinema and see a movie there, both with their projection and high dynamic range imaging processing to the full theatrical Atmos experience. It's fantastic.
And is that different than THX?
Yes, very much so. So THX is really a bunch of additional specifications. So they're performance specifications that equipment and rooms should meet. It's not an underlying technology as Dolby provides.
Gotcha. Okay.
But some of the online services, Paramount, Peacock, Max, Prime Video, Disney Plus, Vudu, Netflix, Apple TV. These are all services where you can experience video content that has an Atmos soundtrack. There's also Atmos music delivery methods. So YouTube Music, Apple Music, Tidal. NTT Docomo was the first service to deliver an Atmos streaming service in the world, actually. So that's why they're listed in there. But as you can see, these are all ways today that you can experience Dolby Atmos. Most of these will be delivering at this point by using the Dolby Digital Plus technology to deliver it, but you'll see AC4 start to appear online. It's more efficient. It's actually one of the codecs listed in ATSC3. So anybody who's doing ATSC3 here in the US will be doing AC4 delivery of audio.
Just because I'm watching one of these networks or listening to like YouTube music, how do I know when this immersive sound is available versus, we're listening to something that may be upmixed, or and maybe upmixing is good. I don't know. How do I know if I'm getting what you're talking about?
Yeah, a couple different ways. So music is going to generally be remixed into an Atmos. So if you're listening on, say, Tidal, it's going to be content specific. But usually at this point, what we're seeing is that, especially on the TV side of things, where it's a premium product still. So with the Netflix and the Peacock and the Prime Video, those type of video related services, you'll get Atmos if you're subscribing to the 4K service, which is an upsell compared to the standard HD. The same thing with on the music side. It's a premium service still at this point. So you'll pretty much know that you're going to be getting the Atmos content if you're paying extra for it.
Gotcha. Hey, Larry, we're going to take it. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, eventually this will become mainstream, much like HD and 5.1 is today.
Yeah, it'll just be there most of the time. You can, it'll be more of the default then do I have to go look for it?
Right.
Yeah.
It's still early adopter premium service phase at this point.
Okay. And it's good to understand that I don't have to put speakers on my ceiling or do the whole surround thing in my living room at trouble and cost to me. You mentioned there are sound bars, even systems with up. There's ways to get this done that are reasonably effective, that give the effect that you're looking for. All right, we're going to take a quick break. This week in Radio Tech, my colleague Larry Schindel is my guest today, and he's teaching us about next generation audio. He's got more technical aspects coming up to talk about, as well as the practical. And toward the end of the show, we'll get to hear some good war stories from Larry about doing surround and immersive audio in the field for real, and some of his cool experiences with that. I'm Kirk Harnack, coming to you. I'm in Spain right now doing This Week in Radio Tech from Spain, so I'm glad that you're along for the ride. And yeah, usually all that stuff behind me is real, but today it's fake. I feel like full disclosure is upon me. All right, our show is brought to you in part by Broadcast Bionics, and the Bionic Studio is something that they've been working on for years and have perfected so well. So many broadcasters around the world, a lot in England, but also around the world, are using part or all of the offerings that make up the Bionic Studio. So let's check it out right now.
Welcome to the Bionic Studio. The Bionic Studio brings all audience interaction to the fingertips of a production team in radio, TV, and podcast. Our workflow-led system is working 24/7 around the world for small broadcasters and national and international networks. Our telephony module, Bionic Talk Show, allows cost-effective centralization, remote operation, scalability, and resilience across an entire network of stations, but at the same time is used in single-studio self-op environments. Social media curation and activity is now considered a broadcast-critical part of programming. Bionic Social means the studio isn't overwhelmed with a wall of interaction from an ever-growing number of social platforms. We combine SMS, MMS, and email together with a speech-to-text service for listeners using smart speakers. We enable studio teams to curate, filter, and display all platforms in one place, and post text, images, and video content to multiple platforms in one operation. Effortless collection of video content with Bionic Director has helped position some of the world's most successful stations as leaders in viral content, generating appointments to listen and free marketing via retweets and shares. Bionic Contest enables end-to-end tracking of on-air competitions, live reads, and prizes. These could be on-air contests, automated SMS entry, or online. Anywhere, and Skype TX for Radio brings high-quality audio and video contribution into the studio with ease. No need for dedicated PCs to run different applications. Everything is controlled within the Bionic Studio UI, and incoming connections are visible to users along with all other platforms. Our codec integration enables connection, algorithm configuration, and directory to a wide range of IP and ISDN codecs. The Bionic Studio, a unique suite of products designed to enable your talent to work smarter.
Let me encourage you to go to the Bionic website. You're going to find things that are helpful for your broadcast operation at bionics.co.uk. It's Bionics with an S, bionics.co.uk. Or check out your favorite Bionic Broadcast Bionics dealer wherever you live, whatever country that you're in. Really appreciate these guys who really push broadcasting content creation forward and make it easier for the talent to make excellent content. All right, it's This Week in Radio Tech, 779th episode. I'm Kirk Harnack, coming to you from Spain, and our guest Larry Schindel is he's ensconced in snow, and he's going to fire up the wood stove pretty soon from Washington State. Larry, let's jump right back into your presentation. I want to make sure we get every bit of it. So take it away.
Oh, yeah. Perfect. Great. Thanks, Kirk. So the next thing I want to talk about is channel-based audio and object-based audio. So channel-based audio is audio, and it's the way are used to thinking and working with audio. So as an example, you have a left and a right speaker. Everything gets mixed to left or right. or in a case of 5.1, left, center, right, left surround, right surround, LFE channel. We're used to those being there, and those are the fixed outputs that we work to. Object-based audio is really more of an input-centric way of thinking, where each sound element is its own object. And with this object, there's metadata associated with it, describing things about that object. First thing would be positional information in the X, Y, and Z domain. So your left speaker, that could actually be an object in a fixed location going there. But there's also information about level to play it back at, frequency response of the object, the size of the object, movement information. So where that positional information changes as the object gets played back. The type of signal that it is. Is it a dialogue? Is it a sound effect? Is it music? Is it a microphone on the field of the football game? So there's information about all this. Now, we may not include all of this information, all of the metadata information along, but all that does exist because you do need to identify what the audio is. Where this will get used and is being used at first is with personalization. So personalization takes advantage of object-based audio, where and it's actually what it's doing is in TV, we're actually using a mix of channel-based audio, which will be your bed mix of the program. If it's a football game, it's the sound of the stadium and the players on the field and the crowd, right? That's your bed mix. You can have effects of the video playback of the instant replay where they put in the whooshes and that's all part of the bed mix as well. But we're using channel-based audio for the bed mix, and we're using object-based audio for the announcers. And what we can do is, it takes a little bit to get your head around this when you're so used to working with complete mixes and channel-based audio. So in radio, it's a full stereo mix. In TV, it can be a full 5.1 channel mix with all the elements in there. The field of play, the crowd, the whooshes from instant replay, the announcers, your referee mics. That's all in that complete mix. What we can do with NGA is a little bit different. So we can actually transmit the bed mix and the individual dialogues separately and have the viewer's receiver mix those together based on metadata that is set by the broadcaster. So to establish some ground rules, right? Some lane markers, but also allow the viewer to select which one of those dialogue or dialogues possibly they want to listen to. So it takes a little bit of different thinking, and there's also there could be a little bit of resistance or reluctance here to put trust in that downstream decoder to reproduce exactly what you, the mixer, are sending out and what the mix that you want to give. But it works. It really does, and it's been done. So
yeah.
Go ahead, Kirk.
I keep thinking about when control is in the hands of the consumer. I keep thinking about the phrase that's so often used in computers, and that is the tyranny of the default. And because I would think that people will buy televisions that have sophisticated capabilities that are far beyond their ability to control them. And I'm sure there's things in my TV that I don't know how to control, unless I really, dove into it. So I just hope the defaults are well defined, and that people without touching anything are going to get a pretty acceptable, mix like they always have done when your speaker only had a volume control and one speaker on it, when your TV only had that. So control is cool, customization is cool, but I hope the defaults are really good.
Yeah, and that's actually one has been one of the big discussions. So I sit in the ATSC committee and work within the DTV audio group of sports video, SVG. At NAB, we sit in there, and this is one of the discussions, not only from the audio mixer's perspective, but from the broadcast perspective, and from the consumer device manufacturer's perspective. Everybody wants that. So there will be metadata that you, the broadcaster, can establish to do this, where you can create what's called a presentation. So the default presentation would be your bed mix and your NBC announcers, as an example. That's always the default. Now they can configure the metadata to allow, say, a Notre Dame team announcer, and another one that could be, I don't know, they're playing Michigan, say, that could be the Michigan announce. And so all three of those could go out in a broadcast where the default setting will be the game plus NBC's announcer, and then you can go into your menus, perhaps the red, green, and blue buttons on the remote or on-screen display remote, and select a different announce, much like you do with SAP audio today, actually.
Sure. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry.
And this is one of the use cases.
Okay.
Yeah, no, this is one of the primary use cases, is either to deliver multiple languages with a common announce or common bed mix, or audio descriptive services, or different team announce with sporting games. And if you look at the slide, the way we deliver main and secondary or SAP audio today here in the US, your main program will go through, that's typically 5.1 in English. Your SAP audio is time shared with AD, and AD is your audio description service. So that would be a special dialogue service for visually impaired viewers. So that'll typically be a narration. If you think of a drama show, the AD track will appear in between segments of dialogue, like, Johnny opens the door and walks into the room quietly. That type of descriptive audio service, that's called an AD service. Your SAP and your AD service are typically time shared today, and they're generally mono, maybe sometimes stereo, but for the most part, they're mono. With NGA and the receiver mixing concept, now everybody can get a 5.1 or 5.1 plus 4 immersive or experience with the dialogue or dialogues, if they want AD, mixed in. So you can have your 5.1 bed mix with your English announce, your 5.1 bed mix with Spanish announce, your 5.1 bed mix with the English announce and the AD service mix in, and the viewer gets to choose that. So now everybody gets to experience a full surround or immersive mix with the dialogue or dialogues of their choice. And if you stop and think about it, really the viewers that listen to the AD track, who better to take advantage of a surround sound or immersive audio mix and experience than somebody who is relying on their hearing, to primarily relying on their hearing instead of their vision to watch this type of programming. So what we can do today with this main and secondary audio NGA, as I described, is you can send out a bed mix, and then you can send out your dialogues. Those come off the mixing console as your dialogues come off as separate channels. they will go into your metadata authoring and then onto your NGA encoder, and those all get delivered in the same AC4 bit stream there.
Okay.
And I'll talk on serial ADM or S-ADM here in a minute. But this way, and again, you, the broadcaster, set up the guidelines, the lane markers, to say that my 5.1, my bed mix, and my first dialogue is the default presentation. And then you can allow viewers to select, the other dialogues, or in the case of AD, which the AD has to go with which dialogue and the bed mix.
Okay.
So
okay.
little different way of looking at things, but it provides a much better experience to the viewer, and actually it will work in the broadcaster's favor at delivering lower data rates. So again, just looking at your mixing consoles here, production today, multi-language production. If you're in a remote truck out at a venue, you'll be producing a complete mix that's 5.1, that's clean, or an international feed with no announce in it. 5.1 complete mix English, 5.1 complete French, and then your ADs, where with NGA production, it would be a single bed and with the different dialogues. So in some ways, it simplifies things as well. Okay.
Tell you what,
another enhancement.
Let's pause right there.
Yeah.
We've got more people paying to be on the program, so we're going to take a quick break and get back to this dialogue enhancement. I think this is a good place to move from the multi-channel differences to dialogue enhancement. So we're talking to Larry Schindel. I'm very fortunate. The company's fortunate to have Larry Schindel on our staff. He is the senior product manager for Linear Acoustic. And, they've made television audio processors for years that do some pretty amazing things automatically to make TV audio sound better and work better. I'm Kirk Harnack. It's This Week in Radio Tech, and our show is brought to you in part by Angry Audio. Angry Audio. You need to check out something from Angry Audio, and that is an audio console that Angry Audio offers called the Rave. The Rave mixing console. It's an analog, not digital. It's an analog audio console with a lot of built-in features and incredible quality that you're going to love. Easy installation with Studio Hub RJ45 connectors for line inputs and line outputs. XLR connectors right on the back for microphones. Built-in power supply, mic and line remote logic, warning and user tally outputs for on-air signs and enunciators. It has preview, or Q, if you will, on every channel. Silky smooth faders, avionic style switches with LED illumination. You'll never have to change another light bulb for sure. Sleek, low-profile desktop design. And I want to tell you, I have held this console, picked it up. I've actually taken it apart and put it back together. This is an incredible design. It feels really solid. It's actually heavy. The materials that it's built out of, the steel it's built out of, it's really something else. It ain't sliding across your table, that's for sure. It's the new mixing console from Angry Audio, up to 8 stereo line inputs, 4 mic inputs, 2 output mix buses, 2 mix minus outputs with talkback, and flexible monitoring for the board operator, monitor feed to studio guests with talkback, and even automatic monitor muting when the mics are open. Of course, like a console should have. Crystal clear metering and tallies. And it's made of, I talked earlier about how the quality. It's made of machined and anodized aluminum. I'm sorry, I said steel. Aluminum. And the markings are all laser etched, so they never wear out. They will be there 30 years from now. Check it out from Angry Audio, the Rave audio console. I've seen this go into so many podcast studios and some radio stations. It's well worth your time. angryaudio.com, and you can buy it from virtually any broadcast equipment dealer because Angry Audio has lots of outlets. Check it out. Thanks a lot, Angry Audio, at angryaudio.com. They have a lot of things to make your studio builds go better. Hey, our show is also brought to you by the folks at Max Connect. Now, Max Connect does several important things that are great for broadcasters, including Max Connect Wireless. But they have the newest product is this RMT 416. companies everywhere are occupying smaller physical spaces while needing to rely on automated monitoring and alerting. And hey, publicly traded companies must navigate compliance issues of proving performance of their radio operations. So to meet those needs, Max Connect is partnering with Audio Science to bring you the RMT 416 streaming radio multi-tuner. Ooh, that's a mouthful. The RMT 416 is a single rack unit housing its power supply and network connection. There are 4 slots in the box so that you can put in different tuner cards. Each tuner card has 4 tuners with analog audio for each tuner on an RJ45, again, Studio Hub. And when fully populated with 4 tuner cards, this RMT 416 can host 16 tuners in one rack space. And hey, your options here, AM, FM, weather band, FM, and HD. It'll even do AM HD. And there's a separate antenna input, of course, for your AM and your FM. So this will stream audio to you. It's got a beautiful web-based control that you can set the levels and control each tuner individually. Of course, you can set presets on all these. And hey, if you're into SNMP for monitoring the things at your station, well, it does that too. You can monitor it and control it with SNMP. It'll tell you about RDS. It'll tell you about audio and, of course, loss of carrier, things like that. So check this thing out. The RMT 416, it's really awesome from Max Connect. You can get in touch with them. Just go to the website, Max Connect. I know it's spelled funny, MAXXKONNECT, maxconnect.com, and look for the RMT 416 multi-tuner. Big thanks to Josh Bone and his staff. They've got some smart people on staff up there at Max Connect. All right, we're talking to Larry Schindel. Larry, I'm sorry to interrupt your presentation. You've got dialogue enhancement to talk about next.
Dialogue enhancement, and this is the last of the major features of NGA. Dialogue enhancement makes it easier for people to hear the dialogue over the bed mix. Again, this is initially intended for hearing impaired viewers, but late night listening can benefit from this as well. With NGA, this is built into the emission codecs, either Dolby AC4 or MPEG-H, and there is nothing that the broadcaster has to do. The Dolby AC4 encoder, the MPEG-H encoder calculates all of the necessary information, and that's just included in the bit stream that is sent out to the viewer. And the viewer will have some controls that they can adjust how much dialogue enhancement that they want in their listening environment. Here's actually a screenshot from one of our AC4 encoders where we have a confidence decode built in that the operator, the broadcaster, can use to ensure that this is working correctly.
Okay.
Serial ADM. I've mentioned this earlier, but Serial ADM is a new TV industry wide open standard for metadata. This is really great, and it's gaining adoption in the TV space. It is still new. Realistically, it's been used in one large sporting event, not this summer, but last summer. Large international sporting event that happened in France. That's where it made its official broadcast debut on real broadcasts. It's defined by the ITU. It is an open standard. And finally, Dolby and Fraunhofer, who's the creator of MPEG-H, along with a few others, but primarily Fraunhofer, agreed on what a metadata standard is. Previous to this, Dolby had their metadata, which was proprietary. MPEG had their metadata, which is proprietary, and you would have to author different things. Well, now there's a standard that can that they shook hands and agreed that for the benefit of the industry, let's come up with a common platform. So there's a lot of use cases for serial ADM. with NGA, including immersive audio, the dialogue enhancement, the personalization aspect, things like that, headphone virtualization, audio object movement, all these metadata that you heard me talk about with object-based audio, and setting up the presentations of which dialogue can go with which audio bed mix and what the defaults are and those combinations. That's all defined by Serial ADM now.
Wow.
And so Serial ADM can be carried as an audio track if you're in the SDI or AES3 domain. In SMPTE 2110 domain, it's carried as a -41 stream, with the -30 being the audio. Many radio engineers may have heard SMPTE 2110 kicked around. AES 67 is the audio portion of SMPTE 2110, so that may be a little bit more familiar to some of the radio engineers. The difference is with AES 67 as defined for SMPTE 2110, the audio streams can be mono up through 8 channels at 1 millisecond packet time, which is called level A. Level B are 125 microsecond packet times, where the audio's again mono up through 8 channels, or level C at the 125 microsecond packet time. It can be as wide as 64 audio channels in a single 2110 audio stream. So
okay.
Here's kind of a block diagram of what was done in France last summer. So at the outside broadcast out at the venue, video and audio were created. This was a full 2110 workflow that was done. So there the metadata was authored, and then they had a metadata monitor and rendering there to check to make sure the metadata they were authoring was correct. That got sent downstream to the broadcast facility, which is the secondary production block, where they received the metadata. They again would check it, QC check it, make sure it's correct. They can modify it, so they could add different languages in there, things like that. And then that would be transmitted out to the encoders in the head end, which then this ripples all the way throughout to the through Dolby AC4 out to the viewer. A little more of a simplified workflow example here, a little easier to read, where at the venue you would create the 514 bed mix plus an announce with the Serial ADM metadata. That goes to your network center, your broadcast, or you can add in, say, a Spanish announce and AD if you need. So you re-author that Serial ADM metadata, and your ad server can play out, say, a 5.1 channel-based complete mix commercial. And again, Serial ADM metadata identifies all that. That goes to your router and then to your encoder, which will read the Serial ADM metadata and know exactly what to do based on that.
I'm glad you think that's simplified. It still looks complicated to me.
It is, and if you stop and think where NGA is going, with, you can have a 514 immersive mix that can just be bed and individual dialogues, and then you switch to a commercial advertisement. That's a 5.1 complete mix, and then you go to your news broadcast, which there's no reason for a news broadcast to be in immersive audio. That frankly doesn't need to be really in stereo, except for that's a convenient carriage format. So all these things switching around, you need to identify what all that audio is, because if you just throw 16 channels of audio at an encoder, it's going to go, what do I do with this? So this is where the serial ADM and metadata become much more important. You can say, I'm a stereo, this program's stereo complete mix. This commercial is a 5.1 complete mix. Now we're going to go to the football game, which is 514 plus NBC announce, Notre Dame announce, and Michigan announce. So being able to identify all that and feed that all the way through the system downstream to the final video encoder, which creates the final transport stream or dash presentations that and manifests that go out to the viewer for their TV set or set-top box to know what to do and how to default to things and what to switch to based on the lane markers, the road markers that were established in the metadata versus what their preferences are, or in combination with what their preferences were set. So really the metadata is becoming much more important than what it's been previously.
Larry Schindel is our guest, and I know that I'm reaching I'm hitting the bumpers on the side of my knowledge to try to learn a little bit more here. I was with you, Larry, for about 80% of the way here, and now I'm getting like, oh man, I'm trying to wrap my head around this. Larry, we've got one more quick commercial break, and then I'm going to leave it up to you, Larry, to decide what to do with the remaining 5 minutes or so as we spill a little bit over in the next hour. Whether you want to show any more slides or give us a lesson or two from your own life experience in audio in the cool places you've done it. But right now, our show brought to you in part by Broadcasters General Store, and they represent, of course, lots of manufacturers. One of those is Broadcast Tools. Broadcast Tools makes equipment that just sits there and works. It does things that you need it to do. One of those things, and I'm going to talk about this product because I installed 3 of these at our new stations on the island of Maui in Hawaii. Installed 3 of these to handle the EAS insertions for our stations. We have one EAS box because all the stations have very similar coverage area, and we needed a way to interrupt 8 radio stations because we've got 6 licensed, and then we got a couple of HD channels, and they're on some translators as well. So we needed to interrupt a total of 8 radio stations, and we bought the Broadcast Tools MSRP 3. It's MSRP. Doesn't stand for manufacturers selling retail price. No, it stands for the multi-station relay panel, MSRP 3. There's 3 interrupts available, and this just wired right in. We used it uses the Studio Hub standard for wiring the audio in and the audio out. So simple RJ45 connectors. We used short Cat5 cables to carry the balanced analog audio out of our X nodes and then through this box and right back in. This is a 3-station, and we got 3 of them. So we have a total of 9. We can interrupt 9 stations. We do 8. It's a 3-station analog stereo EAS relay switcher. And by the way, Broadcast Tools does make an AES EBU version of this as well. It follows in the footsteps of the original multi-station relay panel designed by Broadcast Tools for the Sage NDEC way back in 1996, but this is a very updated product. The MSRP 3 provides additional alert audio distribution and absolutely transparent audio interrupt switching for the NDEC, the DAS deck, and other EAS encoders. So together with the single balanced stereo switched audio interrupt relay that's built in with the NDEC, an NDEC and an MSRP3 together will provide interrupt switching for up to 4 stereo audio paths if you use the one that's built into the NDEC. Each alert insertion can occur independently or simultaneously on one or more station outputs, but alerts can't be overlapped. Standard pin out RJ45 station audio input and output jacks. What they're saying is Studio Hub. The encoder audio input is a balanced monaural pluggable terminal block with pass-through. So you can daisy chain these like I've done. And you can control it with an RS-232 serial port or optional TCP UDP Ethernet port or contact closure inputs, which is how I'm doing it. Includes single pole, single throw test and station relay outputs. A whole long list of features. And of course, like everything that Don Wingett and Broadcast Tools manufactures and designs, it's really hardened. Really nicely hardened. Works so well. Front panel indicators tell you what's going on. Power, if your link is good, activity on the link is good. And then, of course, it shows you when these relays pull in. Also gives you lights for your left and right audio level. So it's just awesome and cool. And it makes this problem of having to interrupt a bunch of stations at the same time with your EAS. It makes that problem go away. It makes it very solvable. So I love this box. Like I said, we installed 3 of them on Maui, and it worked right out of the box. Easy peasy to do. Check it out. It's from Broadcast Tools, and they have some, like I said, some variations on this product, including a model that does AES EBU digital audio in and out, and you can bring in your analog audio for your EAS tones. Available, of course, at Broadcasters General Store. Their website, easy to remember, bgs.cc, bgs.cc. And you can call them. They love to answer the phone at 352-622-7700. Really, I hate to use the old radio phrase you hear on every spot, call the friendly folks, but they really do enjoy talking on the phone. And they have sharp pencils to make you a good deal. Sometimes I'm surprised. I mean, I see the retail price and then on the quote, and I look at, that's the column with the discount prices on the things that I want. Really good pricing from Broadcasters General Store. Thanks a lot, BGS and Broadcast Tools, for sponsoring This Week in Radio Tech. Larry Schindel is my guest. Larry, we got 4 minutes. 4 minutes. What do you want to do in your final 4 minutes here?
Well, I can share a story from when I worked at CBS, if you like.
Sure, I'd love to hear it. Yeah.
I was working at their at the main studios on West 57th Street in Manhattan, and I would get called in to many times to work on various shows. One of the most common ones was at that time it was called CBS This Morning, and I'd get called in to mix the PA and the monitors for many of their musical acts. But I was in the control room. I was working as an A2 one week, and our call time was at 2 a.m. We were there really early, and we were doing a bunch of pre-production, and this one happened to be, we were doing pre-production of the weather scrolls. So where they would scroll up, it would be a minute long or whatever, seconds long, where they show what the weather would be in different cities, and they're all in the background. And so we're doing that, and the audio clip that we for music that was selected was Dave Brubeck's Take 5. So
sure,
we're laying that to tape, and the audio mixer looks at me and says, "Watch this." So he gets on the intercom and goes to the director. What song is this? Director ignores him. A few seconds later, Don, what song is this? Gets off the key.
Oh no.
Director ignores him. About 10 seconds later, Joe gets on the key and goes, "Hey Don, what's the name of the song?" And the director, Don Roy King, looks right over him and says, "No, I am not going to say it." Even at 3 a.m., the director knew what we were up to, because we were waiting for him to say Take 5, and we were all going to get up and take a break.
Oh, see, that was a different direction. I thought that maybe a TD was going to take camera 5 but you weren't even on the air yet. Take 5 was take a break for 5.
This is before we were on the show. Yeah,
that's funnier. Yeah. Oh my gosh. Oh. Yeah, and I know you have other stories too. We'd love to have you back on sometime. Maybe we can just do a whole show of stories. You've been involved with Olympics, with soap opera productions, with other productions at CBS Television in New York, and of course Dolby. That's what you got. That's where you get this wealth of information about Dolby processes and technologies.
Yeah. Plus many live sound stories that are probably not appropriate to share, but I have tons of those as well.
Okay. Well, we'll clean them up. It's almost a family show. Hey, we got to run. Larry Schindel has been our guest. Larry, thank you so much. And hey, the signal was pretty good. You're on Starlink there, out in the middle of nowhere with snow falling, and it held up pretty well. A couple little clips, but it does well.
Yeah, it worked out well today. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being with us. Larry Schindel, my colleague at Telos Alliance. And when I got TV audio questions, multi-channel sound and immersive audio, Larry's the guy. All right, we got to run. I want a big thanks to Suncast for producing yet another show. Thank you for putting up with us, Suncast, and being at the ready and hitting those buttons at just the right times. We really appreciate you. And hey, next week, we're going to have a show on Christmas. Christmas Day at the usual time, 5 Eastern time, 2 Pacific time, 4 Central time, 3 Mountain time. Our guest is going to be Larry Wilkins. And the title of the show, Larry titled this. Larry Wilkins is going to title it, I Wear 3 Hats. And I think one of them's a Santa hat, but it's going to be pretty interesting with Larry Wilkins. So be sure and join us for that. On Christmas, we'll be, you'll be stuffed full of turkey and ham by that time. So we'll look forward to seeing you. We got to run. We'll see you next week on This Week in Radio Tech. Bye-bye.